center, contact confirmed, capture confirmed.
Docking confirmed.
I gave Aki that call. Yep. He already has those, and he's translating on step number 2.
On mic.
Wait, if you hadn't heard him. Aki, I guess we're Sunny here. Sunny how's the meeting?
And today was very similar to spacewalking, actually, although of course it was cave walking. You really rely on your equipment, your tethers, your ascenders, descenders, and if you make a mistake, the consequences here are quite critical, just as they are in a real spacewalk. We are timelined for about 8 hours of exploration, and that's about the same duration of a spacewalk.
M10, it looks good. It has no debris or damage.
Okay, you can put that extender straight onto M10, so you assess and counteract side loads and mate the QD.
And interestingly, the tether protocol that we use for cave walking consists of 2 lunges, 2 short lengths of tether on your left side, one longer than the other, and that's very, very much like the Russian Orlan EVA. And I have done 2 spacewalks in that Russian Orlan EVA, and it seems actually somewhat familiar because of that. The other thing is that you have to be incredibly aware of your body position and what's around you, so you have to have a positional awareness so that you don't hit anything or hurt the equipment that's on your back, in this case a rucksack, and in a real spacewalk it's the same, almost the same size, the life support pack that's on your back. And you also have to keep very close attention to your equipment that you have, and if you're going up or down a very steep shaft, it all must be tethered to you, just like in a real spacewalk. You definitely don't want to lose anything here because you will not see it again, most likely. And if you do see it again, it probably will be in pieces at the bottom of a shaft. And I would also say it's fairly exhausting. When you get to the end of a 6 or 8 hour spacewalk, you really are tired and hopefully very happy with your work. And I think that's exactly how we all feel right now.
I mean, we go for exploration here, and you put on a wetsuit, which is kind of strange. You're in the middle of the mountain. You put on a wetsuit. You put on a harness for rock climbing. You have a helmet on, and then you throw yourself in an underwater lake.
One thing that I noticed is that in zero gravity, it's kind of hard to keep track of things. If you put something down, it might float away because of weightlessness. And here, if you put something down, you may not find it because there's no light. You can't see it. So managing your equipment and personal items, your pencils, your notebooks, you have to be mindful of that all the time, just like you do in space. And I found that quite interesting as well. But of course, we're only here because we had days of very intensive preparation and training by some very highly professional instructors.
Yeah, you can put almost only the launches here.
I think as far as analogies to spaceflight, one of the first is that you work very hard, very long days in space, mostly doing science, collecting science, and doing that as a team. And we've certainly done that here today with our team of 6 astronauts. And a lot of what happens at the end of the day is very much what happens on Space Station. We collect data, we collect all of our imagery, we process and organize all of this information that we've spent a long time gathering and try to send it to the ground in an orderly fashion, just like we're trying to do here.
The types of life in different parts of the cave, not just in the water, but in the rocks and on the walls as well, looking for new life.
We're looking for animals that haven't been characterized, for bacteria, we're looking at water samples, and we're actually doing very new science in this place.
The qualities of the cave. So what about the water? How is the water different down in the cave? What lives in that water? What about the air quality? We're measuring CO2 in different parts of the cave. We're actually measuring the wind and looking for reasons that, or for wind characteristics that might show us where other entrances to the cave are.
We have communication with the surface here, just like we have with our mission control centers. And you have to be very efficient and think about your questions ahead of time so that you get the quickest answer and the most understandable answer as rapidly as you can. So you have to formulate those questions very carefully ahead of time, just like we do here. And I think that's been a very good analogy for spaceflight.
As far as today's activity, we got a water geosample, a microsample.
But when we leave this base camp for up to 10 hours at a time during the day, we are often out of communication. But we have a neat device called TEDRA that we've been testing this year, and we've had some mixed results. But in some cases, we've been able to get signals through the rock to another antenna outside the cave and talk through the side of the mountain.
I heard 150.
So being the commander of 6 astronauts when you're basically the most inexperienced person in the bunch is an interesting job.
We have flown astronauts and rookie astronauts.
I think the team has come together incredibly well over the last few days we've been here, and that's something you expect to see in space.
The cultural differences that we learn about, how to make a strong team. We have the language barriers.
Capital Geo dash.
Old capital. Also drip.
Also capital drip?
Yes.
Okay.
Ground station, cave station.
Campo base, campo base.
Как меня слышно?
Being able to step back and learn from them and learn from their experiences, and then to just steer the group and make sure that whenever we all get bit by this bug of exploration and want to press forward and continue to search and discover and find new things.
I learn a lot about space listening to the stories and how it compares to this experience.
We were exploring some new terrain, and we didn't have a chance to practice the routine like we would normally do in a spacewalk. The space station is very familiar to us compared to this. This is like an alien landscape, and I think from the standpoint of exploration, this is very much like a spacewalk on the surface of a planet like Mars, where you're really not sure what you're going to find, but all of those things that I mentioned before really matter. Your equipment, your body awareness, positioning, and if you're going up and down cliffs and caves, you'll be using equipment exactly like we use here.
So I'm tired physically, my body's getting sore, but I'm still having a great time. And this experience overall is challenging me physically and mentally for safety reasons. It's a very dangerous environment, and I'm having to realize that all of my choices, my decisions have very serious consequences.
So all in all today, I think I would feel exactly the same if I'd been on Mars as I was in this cave, and the landscape was absolutely spectacular.